La verità è che non ci siamo mai fermati. Proprio quando il tempo sembrava immobile, il pensiero si è mosso in un modo diverso. In quell'istante è cambiato tutto. Abbiamo costruito qualcosa che fosse solido abbastanza da sostenere quella leggerezza. Abbiamo trovato il nostro tempo, chi veloce, chi lento, un tempo umano, un tempo nuovo.
I PID, punti impresa digitale delle Camere di Commercio, sono il punto di riferimento per tutti gli imprenditori che vogliono digitalizzare la loro impresa e approfittare delle opportunità legate all'uso delle tecnologie 4.0 per entrare a pieno titolo nell'economia digitale. Ma in che modo i PID aiutano gli imprenditori? I PID, punti impresa digitale, offrono alle imprese strumenti specifici per misurare il loro livello di maturità digitale in chiave 4.0 e definire con maggiore precisione le strategie di miglioramento. Selfie 4.0 è un questionario di autovalutazione da compilare online che restituisce automaticamente un report sui livelli di digitalizzazione dell'impresa. Zoom 4.0 è una valutazione più approfondita, svolta direttamente in azienda insieme al Digital Promoter della Camera di Commercio, che permette di definire in modo più dettagliato i percorsi di digitalizzazione da intraprendere. Digital Skill Voyager, dedicato a studenti e lavoratori, è un test per misurare le competenze digitali attraverso un gioco online, un vero e proprio viaggio nel tempo a tappe in chiave digitale. I PID realizzano incontri di informazione e formazione sulle tecnologie 4.0. Così le imprese possono acquisire un quadro più chiaro e capire come migliorare, attraverso il digitale, processi di lavoro, prodotti e servizi. I PID si avvalgono di un network di professionisti che, nel ruolo di mentor, supportano gli imprenditori nelle scelte da compiere sui temi del digitale e del change management. Attraverso i PID si viene indirizzati verso i servizi avanzati proposti dagli altri attori del network Impresa 4.0, quali i Competence Center del mondo universitario, i Digital Innovation Hub e gli ecosistemi digitali dell'innovazione delle associazioni di categoria. Tutte le principali strutture che operano a livello nazionale per favorire l'innovazione e la digitalizzazione delle imprese si trovano su atlantei4.0.it. I PID mettono a disposizione delle imprese dei voucher per l'acquisto di servizi di consulenza, formazione e tecnologie in ambito impresa 4.0. I voucher sono erogati direttamente dalla Camera di Commercio attraverso bandi ai quali possono partecipare imprese singole o, se condividono un progetto di innovazione, organizzate in gruppo. Che aspetti a entrare nell'economia digitale? Contatta il PID della tua Camera di Commercio o vai su .impresadigitale.camcom.it.
la civiltà dell'amore. Fratelli e sorelle, costruite senza stancarvi mai questa civiltà. Lavorate per questo, pregate per questo, soffrite per questo.
La verità è che non ci siamo mai fermati. Proprio quando il tempo sembrava immobile, il pensiero si è mosso in un modo diverso. In quell'istante è cambiato tutto. Abbiamo costruito qualcosa che fosse solido abbastanza da sostenere quella leggerezza. Abbiamo trovato il nostro tempo, chi veloce, chi lento. Un tempo umano, un tempo nuovo.
I PID, punti impresa digitale delle Camere di Commercio, sono il punto di riferimento per tutti gli imprenditori che vogliono digitalizzare la loro impresa e approfittare delle opportunità legate all'uso delle tecnologie 4.0 per entrare a pieno titolo nell'economia digitale. Ma in che modo i PID aiutano gli imprenditori? I PID, punti impresa digitale, offrono alle imprese strumenti specifici per misurare il loro livello di maturità digitale in chiave 4.0 e definire con maggiore precisione le strategie di miglioramento. Selfie 4.0 è un questionario di autovalutazione da compilare online che restituisce automaticamente un report sui livelli di digitalizzazione dell'impresa. Zoom 4.0 è una valutazione più approfondita, svolta direttamente in azienda insieme al Digital Promoter della Camera di Commercio, che permette di definire in modo più dettagliato i percorsi di digitalizzazione da intraprendere. Digital Skill Voyager, dedicato a studenti e lavoratori, è un test per misurare le competenze digitali attraverso un gioco online, un vero e proprio viaggio nel tempo a tappe in chiave digitale. I PID realizzano incontri di informazione e formazione sulle tecnologie 4.0. Così le imprese possono acquisire un quadro più chiaro e capire come migliorare, attraverso il digitale, processi di lavoro, prodotti e servizi. I PID si avvalgono di un network di professionisti che, nel ruolo di mentor, supportano gli imprenditori nelle scelte da compiere sui temi del digitale e del change management. Attraverso i PID si viene indirizzati verso i servizi avanzati proposti dagli altri attori del network Impresa 4.0, quali i Competence Center del mondo universitario, i Digital Innovation Hub e gli ecosistemi digitali dell'innovazione delle associazioni di categoria. Tutte le principali strutture che operano a livello nazionale per favorire l'innovazione e la digitalizzazione delle imprese si trovano su atlantei4.0.it. I PID mettono a disposizione delle imprese dei voucher per l'acquisto di servizi di consulenza, formazione e tecnologie in ambito Impresa 4.0. I voucher sono erogati direttamente dalla Camera di Commercio attraverso bandi ai quali possono partecipare imprese singole o, se condividono un progetto di innovazione, organizzate in gruppo. Che aspetti a entrare nell'economia digitale? Contatta il PID della tua Camera di Commercio o vai su .impresadigitale.camcom.it.
civiltà dell'amore, fratelli e sorelle, costruite senza stancarvi mai questa civiltà. Lavorate per questo, pregate per questo, soffrite per questo.
Buonasera, benvenuti a questo incontro su il futuro.
Good afternoon. Today we will be talking about big data. The title of this speech is "The future is just around the corner, big data and us." Since the creation of Silicon Valley, we as journalists tend to talk about highly technology areas, talking with the word valley. It's not always suitable because For example, tomorrow we're going to talk about the Motor Valley, and this is a real situation. So when we talk about a big data valley or a data valley, as the one that is growing in Emilia Romagna, this applies because in this region we already have 70% of the calculus and storage capacity of Italy. Today we will talk about the new Technopole that is growing now in Bologna, joining skills and calculus power. Here we already have a data center of the weather center, the European Weather Center, or the Leonardo supercomputer, whose processing capacity is unparalleled in Europe. So this valley is a reference point now for all the projects connected to the National Recovery and Resilience Plan that plays such a pivotal role for the life of the country. As Prime Minister Mario Draghi mentioned this morning in his speech. So we will talk about the opportunities that this entails. We will talk about data, why they are so important, and what kind of role our country can play in scientific research. We will talk about practical applications. We will talk about the future prospects, for example, in the field of artificial intelligence. So we'll talk about all of this with our guests. We have Carlo Battistini, President of the Chamber of Commerce of Romagna, Forlì-Cesena and Rimini. Welcome. And then Vincenzo Colla, Councillor for Economic Development, Green Economy, Employment of the Emilia Romagna region. Welcome. Rita Cucchiara, full Professor of Information Processing Systems at the Department of Engineering, the Enzo Ferrari Department of Engineering of the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. Welcome. And the President of the National Institute of Nuclear Physics, Antonio Zoccoli. Welcome to you too. Now, I would like to start asking you, President Zoccoli, can you give us an introduction for those who are not experts in the field? Why is it so important to reach a higher and higher processing capacity and calculus capacity? And what is the role that Italy can play in this area? Thank you. Well, good evening. What is happening right now in the world is very interesting. In different areas, we are now producing an increasing amount of data. And what our society will obtain in the next few years is an unprecedented amount of data, the so-called big data. We are talking about billions of gigabytes, millions of petabytes. So an amount of data that we have never managed, store, and processed yet. And why did we reach this point? And why? Well, we started, everything started in the research sector. For example, in Geneva, in CERN, they built a huge particle accelerator that was used to reproduce the first moment when the universe was created, to study the fundamental laws of the universe. And what does this have to do with big data? Well, on this accelerator, thanks to this accelerator, they carried out huge experiments. And every year, these experiments produced a huge amount of data. So we started wondering, how can we analyze them? And so a world network of all existing computers working in this field was created. So data were distributed in this network, and researchers could have access to this data and analyze them using all available PCs. So not just a PC in their office. If there was a free computer in Japan and data were in the US, this could be done. So this was the parent, the father of the cloud system. And then other scientific fields started to produce data. Astronomy, for example, you've seen the images. Some of the images are in the exhibition on the new satellite telescope. So there are many initiatives and research that aims at studying the universe, and they produce more and more amounts of data. And then medicine, genome sequencing allow us to study and predict pathologies. If I do a lot of sequencing, I will have a lot of data that I will have to be able to store and process. And the same applies to the agricultural field. I can analyze land to understand how to fertilize an area. Or in the industrial area, I can use the sensors to predict when a certain plant may break down so that I can do preventive maintenance. So there are many areas in which we will produce data, and those data will need to be analyzed. And artificial intelligence will play a pivotal role in this. But after research, the industrial world started following, because the research world is generally leading the way, but then all the other sectors follow. And this is what our governments looked at. So Europe implemented a very precise process to create huge data processing networks to be able to store and process the data. And Italy followed suit. And the region, Emilia Romagna, decided to start right away. They allocated some specific space, and Councillor Colla will tell us a bit more about it. And in that area, they created a processing center for medium-term weather forecasts. And next to it, there will be a supercalculus machine from Cineca. This processing machine will be one of the most powerful in the world, and it will be, let's say, the opening ceremony will be in November. It will be one of the three most important machines, most powerful machines in the world. So in Bologna, there's going to be a concentration of processing capacity. This is the first step, of course. I need to have a place where I can keep my data, but then I need to have the skills to do this. So there will be an investment on people. So we will train people, we'll have them work in the research field, and we'll prepare them to work in the industrial sector as well. And then we thought about the future. So Italy, first of all, decided to co-finance the processing machine by Cineca that will be installed and will be operational from November. This is a machine with 150 petaflop, millions of operations per second. The cost is 250 million euros. Half of them will be paid by Europe. Half of them will be paid by the Italian government. And then we have the financing of the region that will be used to prepare the area where the computer will be installed. So just think of the kind of investment that Italy is doing. And then Italy thought about the future as well. So in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, we can see some guidelines specific to big data. So there will be financing for 320 million euros for the next 3 years to create a national a super processing center, parallel calculus, big data, parallel computers, that will be in the Technopole in Bologna. But this will be a national processing center, creating a network with all data centers that we have in our country. And it will allow to all users in this network to access this infrastructure to do data processing. And it will be possible, thanks to this, to train people who work in this field, not only for the research purposes, but also for private companies. And this is just one of the initiatives. There are many more. Extended partnerships on artificial intelligence, for example, and then initiatives on quantum technologies. There are many other initiatives that focus on data and will be financed by the National Recovery Plan. So we often say that Italy is lagging behind, that things don't work, but in this field, these are vanguard leading projects. Thank you. Thank you for this first overview of the situation that reminds us of the fact that very often we forget about the excellence point that our country can boast. Now, Councillor Colla, I'd like to ask you about this data valley. This is the result of institution, research centers, and private companies cooperating. In this case, it worked, didn't it? And the region decided to invest on it. So what is the strategic value for Italy and for Europe of this kind of result? And what about the future? Thank you. Well, good evening. Well, we are talking about a strategic, let's say, container for Italy and for Europe. So we feel the responsibility of this kind of investment. And we have the right people to do this. This container, of course, requires contents. It is the result of an unprecedented investment after high-speed trains. And it is an investment that involves all sectors because big data and artificial intelligence relate to service, cities, the industrial world, culture. We're talking about the governance of one of the most strategic projects for the future of our young people. And the investment was approved in a moment in which, after the Brexit, we saw an opportunity because it was supposed to be in England, not in Italy. We took the opportunity. So basically, we have to thank Boris Johnson for this. But no, actually, we have to thank Europe for this. So now we have machines that are unbelievable because Europe used to be very weak. We had large American platforms that concentrate wealth and power, so that's a risk because they don't even pay many taxes. And then we had Chinese platforms. This investment is the most significant attempt to put competitive skills at the center of our future in a democratic way, because these are all public investments. The NWF has the ability to analyze the climate. They know what's going to happen with 10 days notice in Rimini, for example. And just imagine what this means for the logistics system, for example, for the environmental system, the fact that we can give these kind of forecasts. And we will have this huge processing machine. And the challenge is to use those machines to satisfy a need. If I'm not able to take the data and provide an answer to a question, a need that the community has, then it doesn't really make any change. So in order to do this, we need the right people in the right places. We need brains. We need people to teach people. So we're talking about more than 1 billion euros investment. And we need to attract brains from all over the world. And it's not true that this kind of investment does not attract people, because it does. And we are trying to get ready to be attractive. We want this to be a great opportunity to attract people so that our people will not leave Italy. So we need to involve them in this. And this is the best job for a councillor. And as Emilia Romagna, you were talking about democratic participation. Well, in this case, our Pact for Labour and Pact for Climate considers digitalization, knowledge, and environment, and our resources go there. And universities, associations, cities, trade unions, they all signed this pact. We decided to do things beforehand. Then, of course, there are many other things that I would like to do, but we have to be aware of the fact that this region is able to have a debate before implementing a strategy. And there is a private sector and public sector that interact. This container is an integrated system. It's an ecosystem. So there can be cooperation with private centers, public centers, the railway companies, different private subjects. And I think this is part of a great strategy that we are implementing. And without our country, this would not have been possible. The region is helping the country, but the region also needs its country and it needs Europe, because this is a huge investment. And it's not just supercomputers. There are many other things that are being built in that place. The biggest research center on circular economy by Enea, and the European Research Center on Materials. So this is a historical change, not just in terms of investment, but considering the opportunity that this investment may bring about. But when we decided to participate in this, we considered the agenda on UN 2030, Laudato Si, and CON21 from Paris. They date back from 2015. So then we decided to position them. And we identified one element. It is not true that if you don't govern that technology will polarize and will create excellent situation, but may create a bubble of poor companies and poor people. This is a gap that you will not be able to bridge. But no, this is an area where things can be connected. And this is an investment also from a social point of view. So this has to become a warm place, because machines are cold. But brains can make that place become warm. So it's brains that will really make a difference for our country. And we're very proud to have all of this in Bologna. So we call this a big data valley. But this was something that Mr. Bonaccini chose. He's the only one who can attribute the big data valley name, because we have the motor valley, it's a copyright, so we have to be very careful who we attributed it to. But regardless of this, this is a container that will allow us to give an answer to the needs of our entrepreneurial system. So it's the former tobacco processing plant in the center of Bologna. So It's a building by Mr. Nervi, a wonderful building. The restructuring was done in a great way. It was done by a company in Hamburg together with a Milan company with Italian designers. Enwf is already located there. Leonardo will be there. Enea is being built. And then we have just published a call for tender to attract an institute on human habitat of the UN University. And we went to Tokyo to apply. So we submitted our application, and in Tokyo they told us, we like your project. And in September, we will have representative from the UN from Paris coming here. And let's just imagine what will happen if we can get the UN University to come here. Young people from all over the world coming here to study the human habitat, to study the impact that technology has on human beings. Thank you.
Quindi servono le teste, diceva la signora.
So, as the councillor was saying, we need brains to work well, and we need to cooperate with universities, with local representatives. So, now moving to Mr. Carlo Battistini, we were saying that big data have several fields of applications, such as personalized medicine and others. What is the importance of such a center for the supercalculus world in Emilia Romagna? I think that the other speakers have already emphasized this, especially Vincenzo Colla. The main point now is to be able to have these strategic projects and make it available. And talking on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, so representing companies, well, the project should get to companies, because the world of companies, the corporate world, is totally involved in it. The two main, lines of action are the green and the digital transformation. So there are 4 main points in the digital transformation of companies, and one of these points being big data, the fact of using them, of managing them. Then there is the Internet of Things, so connecting devices, facilities, and managing them with this connectivity and network of data, the cloud system, with everything accessible from there. And then the other point is artificial intelligence, that is machines that learn how to learn. And so they can work on the objectives set by people, but with the goal of production. So they learn how to learn. And these are the basis of the digitization of companies. For sure, the challenge is very complex. Just think that in Italy, the big data sector accounts for 2 billion in terms of production, and 3.8 billion is represented by the cloud system. And this is related to small and medium enterprises. There is an observatory in the Chamber of Commerce on an observatory of innovation, focusing on 4,000 companies, over 1 million receipts. And the observatory told us that most of these companies are already involved in this digital innovation. So digital innovation is already there. It's not the future. And companies need, in particular, to be able to use this big quantity of data to analyze markets and market trends. And I'd say that this is the first purpose, the first aim for companies. Just to mention a few companies such as Unieuro, well, that's the major Italian distributor of electronic devices, and there are mathematicians working in that company. They have been working there for some years, and they work on statistics, on sales, in order to understand when a specific product shall be marketed, when it is sold, and when it is to be shipped, what are the preferences of consumers. This allows them to anticipate the needs and the requests. And most of companies does this to optimize the supply chain. And that's what the use of big data is for. Another company here is Dallara. They make racing cars with no pilot, and these cars won at Indianapolis. So these cars are able to store millions of pictures, images, allowing the car to be managed and then to recognize in a matter of hundredths of seconds what kind of moves to make. As Vincenzo Colla has just said, all of this should get to the sector of agriculture, of tourism, and to the whole business system in order to seize the opportunities represented by this big capacity of calculation that can be harnessed by small and medium enterprises as well. And that's the role of chambers of commerce, that is making it possible, getting them closer to doing it. As you saw in the initial video, there are PIDs at chambers of commerce. These are digital points that enhance the access to technologies for companies. And very soon, these points will be used to access the funds given by the PNRR, the National Recovery and Resiliency Plan. Resilience, sorry. And so we need someone to be, that is, let's say, able to use this data and is able to share them with companies, or to have companies take advantage of this data, use them in a profitable way. And I think that this is our task at the Chambers of Commerce. Our task is to translate this strategy that has been outlined at a European level and translate it into something practical for example, food industry in Cesena, or and I say Cesena because Cesena is my city, or I don't know, a farm somewhere else. So this is what we should do, I think. Thank you. Now, Professor Cucchiara. Battistini mentioned Dallara and AI for cars, and this have us think of what we can do with AI and what is emerging with the Leonardo supercomputer. So help us look at the future. What can we expect from these kinds of projects from a scientific point of view? Well, first, thank you for your question and thank you for inviting me here at the meeting. Talking about AI is no new today because these kinds of technologies, as it has already been said, are already being used in the world of industry and companies, also for example, predictive analysis. But all of this comes from an important scientific research that has been developing in the last 15 years. And there are several factors at the basis of this success. First, the availability of such an amount of data. This comes mainly from physics, but especially from the web. And then the presence of incredible machines, supercalculators that can do it. 30 years ago when I had my PhD, these machines didn't exist and nothing worked like that. And then other learning models, the neural networks that are made up of a lot of simple elements that are similar to human neurons. And this is why this metaphor of a neural artificial network was used, because they are very close to the computational system. The fourth point are investments. As Councillor Colla was saying, AI started in the United States with great investments from the private sector. I think that Amazon, Google, and other companies are the owners of big data and are those who are creating industries that go beyond just software, because Amazon produces robots, automated storages, and the same goes for Tesla. They use AI for cars and others. And this was both in the US, thanks to private investment, and in Asia through public investments. So what is happening now? Well, I'm saying what I'm saying, being very proud of having studied in the universities of Emilia Romagna. And now, thanks to these machines, we can not only buy the artificial intelligence made by others, but also to develop our own AI. In the last few years, with the pandemic and the war now, Europe, luckily we have Europe, started managing the regulations related to AI and copyrights, and this is fundamental in my opinion, because everything should be based on our democracy and should, for example, go beyond racial prejudices that shouldn't exist. But notwithstanding what was happening in the world, the research went on, and in the last 3 years, we have seen the new foundation models combining language and images. I've always been dealing with the processing of images and videos, but also texts. And so all these elements are combined for artificial intelligence to become the main interlocutor, let's say, for human beings, be it a robot or something that can predict the financial future, because financial data are important. It doesn't matter. These models are being developed and have been developed in the last 2 or 3 years. And in order to do this, we need a calculation power, a calculation potential that was not even thinkable until a few years ago. In the last years, we have made great efforts to put together the different experiences of research in Europe and in Italy. And I'm deeply convinced that the possibilities represented by Leonardo, as we had with Marconi 2 years ago, well, this will allow us to train machines, or rather software, to process text in Italian and not just use English, because maybe we can need the Italian language for the digitization of our public authorities, and we need to use data for human interaction in our factories. And I think that we will be able to do so thanks to these big machines. And I'm not saying this talking about the future, because we have already been experimenting for a few years now, together with the Cineca, ENFN, and the regional network of Data Valley. And I think that we have had achievements. Another interesting thing is that the companies in our area, but also from other parts of the world, ask to come to us and collaborate with us. We know that Leonardo is one of the most important examples in Italy and in the world for defense, for data on security. And Leonardo, for example, started working with us in Emilia Romagna, even if they do not have headquarters here, because here there are universities, research centers, and calculation structures that allow us to work together. What Councillor Colla was saying is very important. He mentioned the human factor in the universities of Bologna, of Modena, where I work, Ferrari. We have been working hard to train new skills, to train new experts for AI. But we need these people to stay with us, to remain here, to work in our local areas and do research for the future. Remember that using AI that you can buy now from the Amazon Web Service or Google Library can allow us to face today's digitization, but then in the future we won't be competitive if we only buy AI. And I think that I won't be happy thinking that an Italian company needs to manage all data using software programmed, created by others, and maybe all the experts that made it are in Asia or somewhere else. I think that the competencies that we have that are mainly related to the manufacturing and the companies have understood how important it is to work in this sense. Think of ceramics, think of fashion, think of the manufacturing world in general. Well, all these companies are asking for STM experts, professionals to work in this field. So what can we do in the future? For sure, I hope that we'll be able to develop model for data interpretation, for data processing, for data comprehension that are created in Europe and in Italy, thanks to the collaboration with different universities in Emilia Romagna and universities in Italy. President Zoccoli just mentioned that the PNRR allowed us to work in this sector. There are several projects, such as the one developed with the Italian strategy on artificial intelligence. And you know, all the Italian universities have been put together to work in this sector. And there's another important thing that we can do, and it is work at the European level. There are already networks at the European level, such as the ELLIS, the European Laboratory for Learning and Intelligent Systems, and it is related to universities dealing with AI in Europe, and there are 400 centers. One, for example, is in Modena, one in Genoa, and then very soon in Trento, Milan, and Turin. And we are the starting points to work on the big machines, such as the Leonardo's machine and the ones at INFN. And I think this is the challenge of the future, working together with the young talents that I hope will remain in our country, or maybe will be attracted from foreign universities, for them to remain in the Bologna Technopole and bring an added value to the companies of this area that absolutely need these intelligent machines, be them pure software or machines, and that's the only way to take the most out of it. President Zoccoli said that the opening of the Leonardo's machine will be in November. It's going to be a great event for our nation and for Europe in general, because let's remember that it's a European machine. And the experimentation on this machine will start in a few weeks to see how such an important machine can work. Go and see if you want, and I'm saying this especially to the young people, go and have a look at the top 500 website with the top 500 machines in the world. There is Marconi, there is the Eni machine, and there are others, and we really hope that in a few months in the top 5 there will also be the machine that comes from our Data Valley. Thank you.
Grazie. Io sono convinto che tra i...
Personally, I believe that among the many young people who are listening to us are probably thinking about possible entrepreneurial opportunities or possible study courses to be followed. So you were very good in sticking to the time limits that you were given. So I would like to ask you one final question. You were talking about the supercalculation, now the National Supercalculation Center. So what should we expect from it? Even for those young people who are still thinking about their future education. Well, I hope we've been able to make you understand the importance of data. Italy doesn't have huge natural resources like mines or oil, but data now have become or will become a raw material. Those who will manage data will be leaders worldwide, and this is what we're working on. And as you were saying, it is fundamental to have young people, skilled young people. So I speak to all the young people here. If you like this kind of subject, please, Father, go and study it, because we will need you. Let's now talk about what we are doing now with the National Center and the National Recovery Plan. We talked about this investment, the Technopole. We talked about Cineca, the Leonardo machine that will be launched in November. But when you do an investment in this field, which is a field that evolves very rapidly, you cannot stand still and say, oh, we are so good, we've got this wonderful machine. It's not enough. If you don't continue to invest, you will be left out. So Italy decided to invest for the creation of this National Center for Calculation. 320 million, as I said before, that will be used in the next few years. So we decided to join together all calculation resources that we have in the country to create a national structure whose headquarters will be in Bologna, but the different branches will be in the different regional centers. We will use a data transmission network. It will be extremely rapid. So we would like a structure that uses that will have a speed of terabytes per second. And then this infrastructure will be put inside a cloud system so that anyone can access this system and perform calculations for, I don't know, a medical project, for an industrial product. I can access the system. I can use certain virtual resources, and I can use them for my project. And then once I've finished, the resources will go back to the network and be available for anyone who may need them. But this is not enough. We need also to invest on people. So we have selected 10 different topics. For example, fundamental research, space economy, climate, raw materials, mobility, medicine, etc. And then we will train people. We will train young people, and we will connect the center, the academy, with the large companies belonging to the center, but also SMEs that cannot have their own data center. They don't have enough resources. So the university and research centers will be a bridge connecting SMEs and these resources. We will invest to improve microchips inside computers. And there will be investment on an emerging technology. We're not sure it's going to work yet, but if it does work, we want to be there. We hope the technology will be ready soon, but we've started investing in it right away. We created a foundation that will manage these funds, and the challenge will be in 3 years' time when the funds will be used, and this center will have to become to be able to support itself. And so all young people interested in this field can work there, and we can create a national ecosystem as a trigger for future prosperity. Well, that's a very interesting scenario. Now, I would like to ask Councillor Colla, with all this calculation power, if we could cross the motor valley and the data valley, for example, in terms of mobility, what do you think could be the result? What could be the role of Emilia Romagna in terms of future mobility? Well, if we talk about the motor valley, there will be a huge change in the mobility system, because a car is becoming a service project, a remote control project. And I think there is a cultural change ongoing right now, also in other countries. We will move from ownership to use, collective use. And so all production and manufacturing facilities will change. So we have to remember that CO2 is produced for 1/3 by mobility. So we'll need to change our engines, for example. And without calculations, without data, we cannot do that. And to young people who are listening to us, follow Mr. Zoccoli, because he has 300 million to spend for PhDs, for different projects. We are investing right now on 2 things. Counseling, for example. Our labor market is outdated, whereas we need to say to young people, if you choose that direction, that place, that area, you will find a decent job. Then it's up to you to decide. And if you go over there in that sector, you will not find work opportunities. And this is a kind of counseling that we need to provide to the students, to the teachers, to their families. If a school is not connected to its community, it's not effective. And we will pass a law to attract talents in September. Why a law to attract talents? Because it's possible. It can be done. It's not enough to say we create job opportunities. It's important to say how you create job opportunities. Because you create job opportunities, if you can provide not only a place where the work is done, but you need the right people. And if you want the right people, you need to attract them. To attract them, you have, for example, to help them find a house. You have to help their families. And you have to pay them the right way. So we are signing an agreement with the entrepreneurial associations, because the issue of wage is key. So we will create a law with a significant investment. Tullio De Mauro used to talk about the intelligence of the hands. He understood very clearly the importance of this kind of intelligence, of the practical intelligence. Now, in the last few minutes that we have, I would like to ask President Battistini to talk about these young enterprises like startups, for example. How can you support them? We just have a few minutes. Then I have time for one last question to Professor Cucchiara. Well, that's a complex answer. If you give the right answer, you solve huge problems. Well, what I can say is that the Chamber of Commerce of Romagna will focus on this for the next 5 years. Our country has less startups than other countries. But as Vincenzo Colla was saying, we already have the possibility. We have great entrepreneurs with wonderful startups. A person in Zola Predosa created the Amazon of luxury clothes. It's called Yux Net-a-Porter. Then he sold it for more 1.6 billion. And Richmond, the new owner, has signed an agreement with an exchange of shares with the large American companies, a platform company, that will use it worldwide. And it will become the luxury clothing platform, and it was created by an entrepreneur in Ravenna. So it's not impossible. But we do this not for those extraordinary cases, but we want to support and help all startups. And we have to provide counsel to young people. Here, 1 person out of 9 is an entrepreneur. Not all of them will be employees. There will be entrepreneurs here, businessmen and women. So we need to pave the way. We need to prepare for this. And for example, in the space economy and life sciences, we have great opportunities. These are 2 areas that are being created right now. Space economy, well, there's a company in Emilia Romagna providing material to the NASA. The issue will be how we will use the data that are obtained. So all those data should be used. And we are here ready to help them to use those data. So for all young people exiting universities, all young entrepreneurs, it will be important to use data for their success. And as for life science, the situation is the same. since we were able to decode the human genome, and we discovered that through the RNA messenger, there's an effect on the genome, the possibility of preventive action. But all of this requires calculation abilities. So it's very important that we find young students who are passionate about this, and we will support them. At the same time, we need to support farmers, traders, craftsmen, so that they can make use of the opportunities that digitalization offers us. Also thanks to the region and the tools that the region is providing us with. The Chamber of Commerce wants to be the connection point between these two different subjects. Okay, so we need to patent Space Valley before Mr. Bonaccini steps in. Now, we just have a few minutes. I would like to ask Professor Cucchiara to conclude, to help us solve a mystery. You've probably heard about sentient artificial intelligence. Someone said the artificial intelligence is learning right now. Well, the web talked about it, the media talked about it. What it means, we need to agree on what it means to think, because the word means being able to feel. And artificial intelligence is now able to feel. It can see in the dark, for example, better than we do. But if we consider this as awareness, no, a machine cannot be aware. And what we are doing right now is creating algorithm, softwares, mathematical optimization. So it's not a sentient machine. These machines are becoming extremely clever. And when we talk to our mobile phone, for example, we are surprised and we think it's more intelligent than the people around us, but this is not the case. Human beings who design these machines are intelligent. Those who program them so that they support us. Machines are there to help us improve our life, live better, improve our health. And AI is very effective in this. It will allow us to work in startups that are in Rimini while being connected remotely on a large network. So they will allow us to work better. So as a university professor and as a standard user of the web, my message is, especially to people of my generation that would believe anything, is to do not believe in the fake news that you hear. Technology is something very serious. It cannot be learned in 2 days. It requires long study processes. And if you work in a serious way, you can improve your life, as we've done, all thanks to technology. Now, fake news have become omnipresent. And the fact that these machines are so intelligent in their interaction with us may be misleading. In 20 days, we will start a big European project called ELSA on fake news. together with Leonardo Company and other partners. So these are challenges for us that we need to win without thinking that we have a magic wand in our hands. This is just the result of our work and our ability to work with data and with calculators. Thank you. Now, just think of how many things you learned about in this hour. So AI is not sentient. Please bear in mind that you learned this at the meeting, and you can help the meeting by donating and supporting the meeting so that these kind of events can happen again in the future. Thank you. Please, let's thank our guests with an applause. Goodbye.
Civiltà dell'amore, fratelli e sorelle, costruite senza stancarvi mai questa civiltà. Lavorate per questo, pregate per questo, soffrite per questo.
La verità è che non ci siamo mai fermati. Proprio quando il tempo sembrava immobile, il pensiero si è mosso in un modo diverso. In quell'istante è cambiato tutto. Abbiamo costruito qualcosa che fosse solido abbastanza da sostenere quella leggerezza. Abbiamo trovato il nostro tempo, chi veloce, chi lento, un tempo umano, un tempo nuovo.
I PID, punti impresa digitale delle Camere di Commercio, sono il punto di riferimento per tutti gli imprenditori che vogliono digitalizzare la loro impresa e approfittare delle opportunità legate all'uso delle tecnologie 4.0 per entrare a pieno titolo nell'economia digitale. Ma in che modo i PID aiutano gli imprenditori? I PID, punti impresa digitale, offrono alle imprese strumenti specifici per misurare il loro livello di maturità digitale in chiave 4.0 e definire con maggiore precisione le strategie di miglioramento. Selfie 4.0 è un questionario di autovalutazione da compilare online che restituisce automaticamente un report sui livelli di digitalizzazione dell'impresa. Zoom 4.0 è una valutazione più approfondita, svolta direttamente in azienda insieme al Digital Promoter della Camera di Commercio, che permette di definire in modo più dettagliato i percorsi di digitalizzazione da intraprendere. Digital Skill Voyager, dedicato a studenti e lavoratori, è un test per misurare le competenze digitali attraverso un gioco online, un vero e proprio viaggio nel tempo a tappe in chiave digitale. I PID realizzano incontri di informazione e formazione sulle tecnologie 4.0. Così le imprese possono acquisire un quadro più chiaro e capire come migliorare, attraverso il digitale, processi di lavoro, prodotti e servizi. I PID si avvalgono di un network di professionisti che, nel ruolo di mentor, supportano gli imprenditori nelle scelte da compiere sui temi del digitale e del change management. Attraverso i PID si viene indirizzati verso i servizi avanzati proposti dagli altri attori del network Impresa 4.0, quali i Competence Center del mondo universitario, i Digital Innovation Hub e gli ecosistemi digitali dell'innovazione delle associazioni di categoria. Tutte le principali strutture che operano a livello nazionale per favorire l'innovazione e la digitalizzazione delle imprese si trovano su atlantei4.0.it. I PID mettono a disposizione delle imprese dei voucher per l'acquisto di servizi di consulenza, formazione e tecnologie in ambito impresa 4.0. I voucher sono erogati direttamente dalla Camera di Commercio attraverso bandi ai quali possono partecipare imprese singole o, se condividono un progetto di innovazione, organizzate in gruppo. Che aspetti a entrare nell'economia digitale? Contatta il PID della tua Camera di Commercio o vai su .impresadigitale.camcom.it.